Welcome back. Today we are going to do a tow test. A lot of people wonder if the older diesel trucks pull as good as the new ones. So we have our 2021 Chevy 3500 back there, and we are going to test it against my good friend Nate's 2006 Chevy. So this is as stock as you can get. 2006 Chevy, 3/4 ton. It is lifted, has tires, all that sort of stuff, so it's not exactly apples to apples, but it's as close as we can get. Right away, I notice some of the biggest differences are the convenience groups, the cameras, all that sort of stuff, even just having more power mirrors and those sort of things. So I'm going to slide out his mirrors here, if they slide out. To test the towing today, we're hooking on to my dad's tilt deck trailer with his Kubota tractor. This weighs right about 10,000 pounds, and it should be a good test, especially with a 3/4 ton truck. This 3/4 ton truck has a tow rating of 12,000 pounds, so this should be right in that kind of sweet spot for it. I forget how used to the cameras I am. It is so weird after you've had a camera for so many years to back up without it. First thing we're going to do with the test is we're going to top off his tank to make sure that we're good to go, and that way we can check his miles per gallon towing up to Soldier Summit and back. Better not forget my card again. The other day I forgot my card in one. Luckily somebody was honest and turned it in. Talk about bonehead mistake. Just getting all the fuel stuff reset. His odometer right now is at 207,517. So we'll see how it does by the time we get back. Better enter this in so I don't forget it. 207,517. All right, let's go. Tow haul button. One thing I do notice is that it's a little bit louder. I mean, it's an older truck, and so it makes it sound like it's working harder, but looking at the RPMs, it's not that different than what my truck usually is towing this weight of a trailer, but it sure sounds like it's working a little bit harder. It's been a while since I've driven a truck with a lift on it, and not the biggest fan of trucks with lifts on them. We'll see how it does at highway speeds climbing up Soldier Summit here. This should be a really good test between the two trucks, because it's not just flat freeway towing. It's going to be going up Highway 6 here in Utah to Soldier Summit. It's not a huge pull, but it's a good enough pull. I have to adjust the brakes a little bit. They're grabbing a little bit harder than I want. Yeah, I can feel those. It's going to be enough of a pull to actually work the truck, and the best part will be the descent, because then you can feel how it actually holds back a trailer of this weight without an exhaust brake or an engine brake, like our new truck has. One nice thing with these Chevys is the Allison transmission is great, and it's always held back really well. We had an 06. God, those brakes are still way too tight. We had an 06 Dodge with a automatic transmission. That thing freewheeled so bad. It was tough to tow with because it just freewheeled all the time. And coming downhill, you ended up just roasting your brakes trying to hold it back. Kara's dad had a 99 Ford 7.3 Power Stroke. It was the same thing until he got his 03 that had the 6-speed. Then you could pick your gears and hold it back, but our 06 was horrible. And this I've been in before when Nathaniel's been towing, and it's held back pretty good, but it'll be interesting to see how it does with this big of a load and actually driving it to see how it feels. Jumping up to speed here pretty good. pulling about 2,000 RPM, still accelerating. Speed limit right here is about 50 or 60 miles per hour, I think. And the speedometer is about 5 miles per hour off because of the bigger tires. Just finished our first climb. Now just out on this flat area before the what they're called red narrows, and we'll see how it does handling those corners and all that sort of stuff. As we climbed up it, I did notice that I had to put my foot into it quite a ways trying to maintain that 60 miles per hour. When it downshifted, it didn't downshift too hard, which was nice. This comes equipped with the 6-speed transmission, and the 6-speed really shifts pretty good. That's one of the things that we've noticed most about our new truck is that 10-speed is so smooth. So I was kind of preparing for that really rough shift, and it was fairly smooth. Never got over about 2,200 RPM pulling up it though, so it wasn't working the truck too hard. Just felt like I had to put my foot into it a little bit more. As we're going up the canyon, I am noticing a little bit more bounce or sway from the trailer. This is a 3/4 ton truck as opposed to our 1 ton single rear wheel, so the weights are different, and I understand that. It's just, and maybe it's the 6-inch lift. It just feels like it gets a little bit more porpoising and stuff like that going over the bumps in the canyon. It'll be really interesting to see how it does going around all these corners. I have dropped my speed because these corners are fairly sharp, to see if it has any body roll or any of that sometimes you get with a lifted truck. One thing you can judge when you're going through areas like this with these corners is that acceleration out of it, because you always have to let off a little bit going through the corner, then come out of it, get back up to speed, then drop down again. And it's a real good barometer of how the truck's handling the weight, but also how it's working in general with the engine pulling and accelerating and decelerating, and the transmission holding back and all those sort of things. Comment down below, what are you more in favor of, a new truck or an older truck? I know some people, like us, we trade them in quite often, but then others keep them and drive them into the dirt. What do you do? Do you think they're good for a few 100,000 miles? My personal opinion is the engine might be, but the rest of the components on the truck start to fail, and so you're going to have more problems with all the drivetrain type stuff, even though the engine's still working just fine, especially if you've taken the maintenance on the engine that you need to, like Nathaniel has on this truck that has 200,000 miles on it now. But I just don't want to ever have those issues, and I feel that it doesn't matter if it's a gas engine or a diesel engine, at a certain point your drivetrain is going to start to have some issues. For a comparison, our 2021 Chevy Duramax, it has 420, I want to say, over 400 horsepower and 900 plus foot-pounds of torque. So about 300 foot-pounds of torque more, and probably close to 50 or 60 horsepower more. But it is a heavier truck, so it might actually be negated in the long run. Doing pretty good so far. We're running right about 1,800 RPMs and just cruising right along. Barely having to give it any throttle or anything else. It's just doing its thing as we climb up here. Not too steep of a grade right now, which is nice, but we'll see when we get up to this steeper grade. The final climb here, just a nice little grade. Get past this truck that's kind of slowed down a bunch. Pulling about 2,500 RPM, trying to hold right about that 60 mile per hour speed limit. I do have to say it's doing fine pulling up this hill, but this feels kind of like where it wants to be speed-wise. It's not wanting any more than what I'm giving it. I'm sure I could really floor it and get it to downshift and rev a whole bunch and maybe get a little bit more out of it, but it's working really just right in its sweet spot right now, just to hold probably about 55 to 60. Pulling about 2,200 RPM. All right, we're here at the turnaround. Now to test how it does going downhill. As we descend down, just trying to keep it nice and even. Probably stay about that 50 mile per hour range, except through some of these corners. It is different not having the exhaust brake to hold you back, just having to rely on the brakes a little bit more than I would typically. I can feel the transmission holding back though, which is nice. It's not just freewheeling. I do wish I'd taken a little bit more time fine-tuning where to set the brake controller at with this truck. I thought I had it good, and then thought I didn't, and now I think I have it back again, and it's not quite as precise as on the newer trucks, just having the push button. This one has one, you know, we have to roll the little dial thing, so a little bit more difficult. Because I don't want to be dragging the tires and flattening them, but also like to have it rolled back a little bit. Don't want it to be pushing the truck too much. This canyon can be a little bit deceptive because it has these long flat straightaways. Well, not flat, but just kind of gradual downhill straightaways, and then it comes into some steep corners, and people get flying way too fast, especially pulling, and they hit these corners and bad things happen. It's a pretty dangerous canyon that way just because of excessive speeds. So I'm just keeping it nice and easy. No reason to go wrecking my buddy's truck. I don't know if I'd ever live that one down if I wrecked his pride and joy. Back at the gas station, just filling up. Just put in 5.5 gallons. So we went, let's see how far we went. 62 miles, so divide that by 5.5. 11.2 miles per gallon. Not too bad, towing 10,000 pounds. Really uneventful. It felt like it was about as much as the truck wanted. It wasn't like it was pulling up the hill and I was pulling out the throttle or anything. It just had that sweet spot and just kept going. Really nice though. Handled the load overall really, really well. So let's finish filling up and we can go hook on the other truck.
A few moments later.
We're on to number 2. We're in our 2021 Chevy Duramax 3500, and we're gonna do the same route, just filling up with some fuel, and we'll head up and see how it does as compared to the 06 Duramax. I know I'm gonna feel more comfortable in it just because I'm more used to this truck, so I'll try to keep that out of my, I guess, my review. We are burning a bunch of diesel today. All topped off on fuel, just waiting for the light change, and then we can get going up the hill. See how this does in comparison with accelerations. Just pulling over to the gas station already though, I kind of feel it accelerates easier than the 06. I don't know if it's just the gearing's different, but it honestly just seems to move the trailer easier. So now we're gonna jump up to speed here. Okay, we're at 60 now, so it feels like it accelerated a little bit better. Not that the other one didn't do fine, it just, it's probably just the extra horsepower and torque. An extra 50 horsepower, an extra 300 foot-pounds of torque just moves the trailer a little bit easier.
And 14 years of technology.
Yeah, and 14 years of technology and
15.
A 10-speed transmission as compared to a 6-speed transmission, and yeah, I understand that in so many ways this is not a fair comparison. As we go up the canyon, we're going to try to do the same thing. Just keep at the speed limit, 55 to 60 miles per hour, and see how it does in comparison. It ended up being about a 60-mile round trip, so it's a pretty good test of how it's going to do. A 30-mile climb and then a 30-mile descent. I know it's not the steepest climb or the steepest descent, but it's better than just flat freeway towing and trying to make a decision based off of that. Are you noticing anything, Kara, from the passenger seat? Or
noise, of course.
This is a quieter truck.
This is a quieter truck. I feel like you were able to accelerate at a quicker rate and a smoother.
Yeah. I don't know if this truck will be as quiet in 14 years as that truck is, but as of right now, this is quieter. As we're starting up the canyon here, just had to look down and take my foot out of it. I was already up to 69 miles per hour instead of 60. Going way too quick, way too fast. It feels way easier to go over the speed limit, at least in this section so far. As we pull up the hill here, we'll see if it's as easy to maintain speed. The truck did downshift, but we're only still pulling 1800 RPM. That's one thing with the 10-speed transmission is you do get more shifting, but it's finding the right spot more often than not, rather than that being between gears that you'd end up with a 5 or a 6-speed. I just barely have my foot into it at all, and we're doing 63 up this hill. And I could go way, way, way faster. There's 65. Going through the red narrows here, as I said before, a good test of that. Slow down, accelerate, handle the corners, all that sort of stuff. The 06 did great. Had to slow down a little bit more because this truck wants to go a little bit faster through it. I was doing like 65 instead of 60 coming up on it. Right now doing 57. I am taking into account that this is a 1-ton single rear wheel and the other truck was a 3/4 ton, so that does change stuff a little bit through these corners and the stability of the load and all that sort of stuff. Just being able to handle the load a little bit better. I didn't feel like I had to slow down on the corners though. I could just hold my speed through the corners. Instead of that, slow down, accelerate kind of thing. As we come up the final hill towards Soldier Summit, one thing stands out to me is I could legitimately do probably 10 mile per hour faster up this canyon with this truck than with the other truck. I know there has to be some with the chassis being different that helps with that, cornering and all that sort of stuff, but just the overall power, it pulls it easier. The new 10-speed obviously helps, and the extra 50 plus horsepower helps. So we'll be up here hitting the top in just a second, and we'll get turned around, and we'll see how it does going down in comparison. All right, halfway point. Old Hilltop Chevron. Glad we don't need diesel here because it's $4.49 a gallon. Oof.
One eternity later.
We are on the downhill side now. Test how the truck holds back as in comparison. We do have the exhaust brake on, so that's going to play in. I was pretty impressed at how well the 06 held back on the way down. The Allison transmission worked really well, especially compared to our old Dodge. We had an 06 Dodge that it was a pain to come down this thing. So very, very different than what that truck did. Sometimes this truck wants to hold back too much. You have to give it a little fuel. So we're just going to cruise down the bottom, and hopefully it's as uneventful as the last trip down. As we're just talking, cruising down, we have a Bronco Sport in front of us, one of those new Bronco Sports. And we aren't huge fans of the new Bronco Sport, but I think we both like the new, like, full-size Broncos, right? Comment below, what do you think? I'm pretty sure most people have seen them now out there. I know there's like a 2-year waiting list on them. You know, what do you think? Do you think they look good, bad, indifferent, whatever? Let us know. We kind of like them. As we drop down the last hill, really uneventful. Basically just coasted down the whole thing. Truck held right where it was supposed to. There was a little bit more traffic this time, so just kind of stayed behind traffic and coasted down the hill here. It is really nice how well this truck holds itself and the trailer back. One thing that does stand out as well between the older trucks and the new trucks is how much better the new trucks are at holding themselves back. The transmission slows them down better, but also the exhaust brake, all that sort of stuff. It's just integrated into the whole system a lot better, even with the integrated brake controllers that are a lot easier to program, all those sort of things. But we'll just continue on down to the bottom of the hill here, and then we will see how we did on gas mileage. I'm betting that the 06 did better on gas mileage. It always seems to go that way because horsepower burns a lot of fuel. Back at the gas station again, getting some more fuel. Overall, pretty fun day testing out both trucks. I don't know if you can go wrong either way, but I mean, if you're in the new market for a new one, yeah, it did do a little bit better. Looking at how much we just got, 5.829. So let's see how that equals out. So 60. Okay, so we used 5.829 gallons. And we went 70.1 based on this truck. So 70.1 Cara divided by 5.82.
Oh, 1204.
1204. Now let's do Nate's truck again. Let's recalculate Nate's because I bet his odometer's off with the bigger tires.
Yeah.
So how much did we put in?
Put so many receipts in.
So many receipts, yeah.
So we put in, was that 14.9?
No, it didn't take 14.9 gallons. That was probably that was what we just did here on this truck. The one before. That's the one we just did now. Oh, I took it in the house. All right, when we get to the house, we'll look at Nate's again.
We'll figure it all out.
Found the receipt. So at 70 miles, which I think with his big tires and all that sort of stuff, it just throws off his odometer a little bit. So 70 miles divided by 5.53 equals 12.65. And what did we get on our truck? Was it 12.2? I can't remember now. So on Nate's, we used 5.53 gallons for 12.65 miles per gallon. And on ours, 70 divided by 5.82 equals 12.02. So we got a 1/2 mile per gallon better, or yeah, so 12.5 miles per gallon, 12 basically. So overall, pretty good. I don't know if you guys like towing trailers as much as I do, but for me, that was a heck of a good time out driving around the new truck and then my buddy's old one. The new truck felt like it could go quite a bit faster up the canyon than the old truck, but the old truck didn't do bad at all either. And when you factor in the cost of a new truck versus keeping the old truck, it might be the way to go. We love having our new truck and we'll always kind of go that route, but comment below. What do you think? Which would you prefer? Remember to like, subscribe, all those sort of things. And as always, enjoy your weekend. Thanks.